Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Nick back with Nick with Nick's Reps, back with another video. This is a week in the life of a reptile keeper slash breeder. And right now I'm just gonna be talking about the breeding aspect of it. Because you guys haven't seen any breeding, you guys haven't seen any eggs. So, yeah. Um, Pretty much the best time to breed most reptiles is in the spring and summertime. My bearded dragons should be popping out eggs within a few months. Whenever it starts to warm up a bit more at night, um, they'll be better with it. Um, Same thing with frog or amphibians and turtles. I have a box turtle who is outside and hibernating. Um, I might get her a male. I don't know. Um, just because she is special. She has deformities, and she's a inbred product, so I don't think that she will be good for breeding just for those reasons. I was just joined by one of my friends. But yeah. So there's that. And then another aspect of being a breeder, you have to figure out which animals to breed, which ones are best. So I've been doing research. That's why my videos have been getting posted late or whatever. I am in the middle of researching and searching. I know I do want to get red-eye crocodile skinks, emerald tree boa, saltwater fish, and invertebrates. So tarantulas, scorpions, mantids, leaf bugs, walking sticks, anything I can have here, I'm gonna have it. So pretty much what I do when I get off, and if I need to record a video after I do that, and after I get done like taking care of the animals, I just go online and start searching a lot of shops for new animals. I do want to get a purple paradox translucent bearded dragon, which are up to $400. So I gotta save up for that. But yeah, overall, I have a good idea of what I want. I just need to figure out how to breed, which I feel like won't be too hard. I'll be able to figure that out pretty easily. My crested geckos, when I bred them last year, I didn't follow the rules. Actually, when I found the eggs earlier that day, I was talking to someone about how to do it. They were telling me, and then I came home and started digging around looking for my red-legged walking frogs, and I found 2 clutches of eggs, so 4 eggs in total. Incubated them, and then the older clutch hatched 2 days after, because they were in the enclosure a lot longer. The other ones didn't do so well. They actually died. At first they were spewing this stuff. I thought it was like amniotic fluid. But yeah, I don't know. And then it looked like one of them like pipped. It broke through the shell and then died, which was unfortunate. But yeah. I'm also gonna be trying to breed bettas. I'm more than likely just gonna breed an opie to an opie, white. Just because it's I don't know if you can crossbreed bettas, so yeah. And I find out either today or tomorrow if I'm getting a new place, which I've mentioned, which is where I'll be able to house everything. And then I want to get a license in California to re to sell native species, which my snake is. He's a het albino gopher snake. So I want to get a license to breed and rehome his babies, because I want to try and get some albinos and rehome them. Have one for holdback, and then get another albino eventually, put them together, create more albinos, or maybe something even better or cooler. But another thing with breeding, uh, you need to make sure that you have a supply of food. So, what I'm gonna do before I get any more animals is I'm gonna build a little uh, box type deal with a hole in the bottom with a bathtub plugger thing. And then I'm gonna get crickets for that. I'm probably gonna start off with about 1,000 crickets. He doesn't like my ear. 3,000 crickets, yeah. And then I'm gonna do hornworms, waxworms, super worms, maybe crickets. Like I said, just a bunch of different things. Dubia roaches, hissing cockroaches. I do have a male and a female already, so I'm hoping that they breed, and I can just inbreed their babies, so I don't have to buy the adults. Oh. But yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it for breeding and all that. What I do though, what I want Nick's Reps to be is I want it to be a sanctuary for reptiles, amphibians, invertebrates, birds, fish, and everything. I want to have, like, it's gonna be a pet store, but more towards the exotic sides. And then I want to be able to I want to learn to get how to get licensed to sell them as emotional companions. Just so that, because I know I was working at a pet store one time and someone told me that they had a 4-foot green iguana. They were in the military and they had to ship out. Well, shipping the iguana alone without the enclosure was $3,000. I think it was to Florida or somewhere over east, and I'm in California, so yeah, I thought that was ridiculous. But if you get them signed up as emotional support animals, it's free. So I want to do that, not for the free travel, but just so that, like, you can, so that the humanity learns to look at an emotional support iguana, per se, as the same as an emotional support dog or cat. Personally, me being me, I don't believe that there is really much of a difference between dogs or cats or reptiles or amphibians or whatever. The only difference between universal pets and more exotic pets is scales and fur and diet and blood. Yeah, I don't think there should be too much of a difference between the two. I do respect both equally. Reptiles just have a special place in my heart. And birds as well. Alright guys, that's gonna be it for this today's video, well, right now, if it doesn't rain today, around like 11 or so, I'm gonna do a little video on me cleaning my betta tank. So stay tuned for that. Until then, I'll see you guys later. Peace. Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Nick with Nick's Raps back with another day of a week in the life of a reptile keeper slash breeder. And today, while I've been sick, laying in bed, I've been watching a lot of Clint's Reptiles. And if you don't know who he is, he pretty much just lists of great reptiles as pets. And then he keeps on going on and talks about each individual animal by and gives them a rating. So I figured, why not jump on that wagon? You know, let's do something like that. So right now I'm gonna be doing 5, or I think I have 5. I'm gonna start off with saying 5 of some of the best exotic animals as pets. I'm not just gonna be talking about reptiles. I'm gonna be talking about frogs as well. Good thing is, most of mine make my list. I do have a couple that I don't believe are good for beginners. That's something I should have added. This is more of a beginner's list. So whether it be frogs, geckos, or other types of lizards, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 of what I believe are some great lizards. And then when I start building out my collection, I'll be doing more of these videos. So yeah, let's jump into it. As you can tell, I got this enclosure open just because I want to start here. Since my phone is charging, it's connected to my laptop, and I'm gonna have to go all the way around. Yeah, so first off, I'm gonna start with the reptiles, and then after that, I'll add on the amphibians. So the first one on my list, by the way, I'm not doing this in order, because otherwise it would be bearded dragons first. But I'm right here. I'm just gonna grab some of these animals. So, crested geckos are, I would say, second on my list. Just because crested geckos are super easy. Oh, and just so you know, leopard geckos and bearded dragons tie for number 1 as the best beginner reptiles in my book. I believe when I get to the bearded dragons, I'll share more about that. But yeah, crested geckos are one of them. They're super easy to handle. They are prone to jumping, but they are super, super awkward, and they will more likely fall. They come in a lot of different varieties. There's so many different morphs, and I've only began to scratch the surface. I currently have Dalmatian Harlequin, chocolate Harlequin, partial pinstripe, possible tiger, creamsicle, and that's about it, honestly. I don't have I have 4 crested geckos and only 3 different morphs. Well, a lot more different morphs. If you separate them, I have a lot. But yeah, they're super easy to take care of. Temperature can be room temperature. I want to say it's like between 70 and 85, somewhere around there. I do not keep mine at that. I give them enough space to thermoregulate all on their own, and she is going to jump right now. She ended my video, so just like a crested gecko. They are, like I said, super easy to care for. They eat crickets, either fresh or powdered fruits. Um, Zoomed has it, Rapashi. If you type in crested gecko diet, chances are you'll find 10 different brands at least. I use Zoomed because I worked with them. And what I do is I make a good sized jar of it, and then I leave it in the freezer, thaw it out the night before when I want to feed it to them. And sometimes I'll put a little pinch of calcium powder in there if it's breeding season. It works really well with this enclosure because day geckos can eat it as well. So it gets eaten. But most of the time I do keep them on crickets. So yeah. Pros, they don't take extra electricity. They don't need UVB. But if you don't have the UVB bulb, you need to have the calcium with the D3 because that's the same thing. They are super easy to breed. They're readily available. They come in a bunch of different colors, shapes, and sizes. They're not prone to bite. They can be kept together as long as the males have, if you have trios, one male to 2 or 3 females, and then you can have another male. Just because males are territorial and they will defend their ladies. So yeah, they're nocturnal. So if you want something you can handle during the day, they're not for you. Cons. They are nocturnal. So like I said, if you want something you can handle throughout the day, they're not for you. They will drop their tail for whatever reason. In the wild, they are not known for having their tails as an adult. They say almost all of them do not have their tails as adults. So that's something to keep in mind, especially since they do not grow them back. It will always just be a nub. So pulling their tails, they will lose it. Dogs barking, they will lose it. Sneezing, they will lose it. Coming up on them too fast, they will lose it. So that's something that a lot of people take into consideration when they go about buying an animal. So if you don't want an animal that's going to lose its tail and never grow it back, crested geckos are not your way to go. If I wouldn't recommend them for kids, they just because they have actual skin instead of like rough scales like a bearded dragon would have. So they you can hurt them really bad if you just grab them and you're rough with them. So that's never fun, having an injured animal and all that. So yeah. And then you can see a little latte here. I can rub my fingers on her. She's not prone to bite. Another con, even if they do bite, it does not hurt. It won't break skin, and they'll barely bite you and then let go. I've had savannah monitors latch on and I couldn't get them off. I had to pry them off. I had a green amoeba who literally tried to eat my finger. Pac-Man frogs tried to eat my finger. Pixie frogs tried to eat my finger. So yeah. Another downside is that since they are geckos, this is something that happens with most geckos. If you have them on something like coconut fiber, a more sharp and spiny substrate, it can get into their eyes and cause problems. So you need to watch out for that. I keep them on a soil-based substrate, so instead of something stabbing into their eye,
It's more of like getting on there and then they can lick it off and do whatever. Or if I see it and they haven't been able to get it off, I could get a damp paper towel and just like kind of press it on there very, very softly. You don't want to really touch their eye, you want to touch the substrate instead. And then a lot of the times they will stay onto the paper towel. I never go near my animals' eyes with tweezers or anything like that, except for one time I had a bearded dragon who had a wood chip stuck in the corner of her eye. I pulled it out with tweezers, but she was super calm about it. Geckos will definitely never be that calm. They're not that calm to begin with. So yeah. Another con is, like I said, they are prone to jumping, and like I also said, they are super awkward. Super awkward. I'm not talking about like, oh, they're kind of awkward, blah 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 blah. No, they're super awkward. They will probably land on their face. It's a very good. So it's a very good chance. Another pro, they breed super easily. Like I bred mine last year. I was trying to, but I wasn't doing anything that you're supposed to do. Incubating their eggs, you can leave them in your closet and with the doors shut for 2 to 3 months, and that'll be good enough to incubate their eggs. I incubated them on accident inside of their enclosure, and the ones who were in there longer hatched. The ones who weren't didn't. And I put them inside of an incubator, which I think I should do a video on how to use one. So let me know what you guys think, or maybe even how to build one. But yeah, crested geckos are a really good reptile. Honestly, most geckos are. I'm also going to add invertebrates to this, just because, why not? I wasn't thinking about doing it, but I saw butters and just had to. Madagascar hissing cockroaches. Most people are going to be thinking, ew, not cockroaches, ew. They're disgusting. I would never have one, ever. Listen, take a little listen. They're super friendly most of the time when you tame them down and all that. I think what really happened with Butters is that I rescued her, and so she may have just. This may just be her like repaying me. I've heard her hiss like twice, and that was at one time. Well, it looks like she may actually be pregnant, so that's great. That's one of the pros. They get pregnant easily. I heard that they can change their genders. I don't know if I fully believe that or not, but I'll take their word for it, just because I want to believe it. Perfect thing about them breeding is that they're really good feeders. And I wouldn't feed off Butters. I could feed her to my bearded dragons. I wouldn't though, just because she's sweet. And the whole reason why I have her is to give her a better life. But her babies are a different story. Not this clutch though. And the good thing is that they are live bearers, so it will just be plain old babies when she's ready to have them. I don't know how many they will lay. They can stay at room temperature. A little bit higher is perfect for breeding. They will eat anything. The potato in my enclosure is pretty much for them and the crickets. Zoomed does make insect food. It's kind of like a gelatin type thing. I'm just not remembering that I did throw them away on accident recently. they come in a lot of different flavors: brown sugar, pollen, honey, some other stuff, and they're good for crescent geckos or day geckos or other omnivorous or vegetarian uh, lizards as a treat, not as a diet. Um, yeah, they're super cool. Pros: they don't bite. They don't last long. They breed easily. They're not going to attack your animals, so if you want to have them in there for like cleanup crew, they're not going to attack your animals. They eat. I think I already said that, but they eat everything. Um, they're hardy. They're super hardy. They're readily available for super cheap. If you did want to get them as feeders, they're a lot cheaper than like hornworms or something like that. So that's always good. I bought my extras as for like $5. Um, they don't climb. They can't climb glass. Uh, they can't climb smooth surfaces, straight up or diagonal. Um, yeah. Cons: they don't last long. So you might be asking, Nick, why do you have it on both? It depends on which side of the spectrum you're on. You want to try them out, you don't like them, they generally live up to 5 years. Butters here is on her way out. She should be passing away fairly soon. And the reason why it's a pro is because since they don't last long, they reproduce a lot. That's pretty much how it is with a lot of animals that don't last long. They reproduce enough to make their small life worth it. Just like chameleons, live fast, die young. By the way, a little heads up: I will never have a chameleon on one of these videos. Top 5 pets for beginners, intermediates, or advanced. I believe that chameleons are a terrible pet. Don't get me wrong, I love them, and I would love to have one, but I can't keep them alive, so I'm not gonna get one. I'm not gonna lower the population since I can't keep them alive. I'm not gonna keep on getting them just to kill them. If I did get one, it would be a Panther's chameleon, though. Alright, so I think that's it for hissing cockroaches. I'm gonna put her back so I don't disturb her too much in case if she is preggers. So that's 2. Another great animal, amphibian. It's a green tree frog. They come from somewhere in the United States, the North America hemisphere, or North America. They are super hardy. They are super available. They eat well. And yeah, so let's get into it. The temperatures, they do well in what I have. Mine gets pretty hot at the top, honestly. And he stays up there. He stays on that little piece of wood that I added not too long ago, the one I just siliconed in. He stays up there most of the time. He'll be up there sleeping. So yeah. I'd say it gets up to like 90 degrees up there, and I just pulled him from there sleeping. They are super hardy. I've had maybe like 6 of them. First time when I killed all of them was something stupid. I put all of my animals into a 10-gallon tank with the light on them. The light, a light for this enclosure, so it was super powerful. And all of my animals means even my frogs. So they dried out and died out. So that's one way to kill them. Not feeding them, not high enough humidity, nowhere to soak, and pretty much just handling them all the time, which will be a con. But he does eat maybe 5 large crickets a week. I know that once I put them in here, if they're small enough, he will eat 2 or 3 at a time. And he's full right now. So yeah, I don't know about breeding them. I've never bred any amphibians yet. Yeah, they so I can't tell you about how breeding them is, but there's a lot of them in the trade. PetSmart will always have them. Petco will always have them. Most pet stores will always have them. And they'll be around $10. $10. If you find them at a reptile show, they'll be $5. They're super cheap. They look really for a basic tree frog. They look really cool. They're green. They got a white underbelly. They got that white stripe going down. And yeah, they look kind of like a little arrow. They're a lot of frogs are super easy to sex once you figure out the thumb of rule. Literally, the thumb. Male tree frogs will have a toe pad on their thumb for gripping on during mating. Females will lack it, and in the springtime through the summertime, you'll hear their sex. Males will croak. It sounds like a dog, especially from far away. And then you realize it's coming from your enclosure, and it is your frog. And it is, I love it because they get all bloated up, and you see their throat. It's in a bubble. It's really cool. Yeah, and then they'll just sit there, just like that, just all puffed up. So yeah, pros. Being tree frogs means they can take a good fall, since in the wild they will jump from tree to tree. Sometimes they won't land on their tree, so they will fall. They are super hardy, super available. They eat really well. They do well in numbers, so you can have a few. You can even keep males together. They won't fight. But you should have more females than males anyways, just because sometimes males will gang up on a female during breeding, because frogs don't care. And yeah, they don't get too much bigger than this. This is roughly an adult. I've had him for about a year. He's doing great. And if you ever see me without a green tree frog in my enclosure, just know I'm gonna get one very soon. Just because I love having them. They're a super basic frog, but they're really nice to have. They do liven up the enclosure very well. And you'll hear them at night, just dink, that's them landing on the glass. And you probably heard that right now. He landed on this fish food right here. That's my prop. Yeah, I'm gonna put him back just because of one of the cons. You're not supposed to handle them too much. And you guys didn't see it, but I wet my hands down in the pond so that my hands all the oils aren't gonna get him right away, because the oils in your hand are potentially dangerous for frogs, amphibians. They do pee on you. He peed on me. You guys didn't see it. But if you can get past that and the handling part, it's super easy to take care of. Those are pretty much the only two cons. Can't talk about them dropping their tails since they're supposed to drop their tails. Metamorphosis. I think that's it for them. Another frog. Just because the only animals in here, the only reptiles in this enclosure that I will recommend are crested geckos. Day gecko, no. Skunk gecko, no. Those are the only three reptiles that I have. So let's move on. Another con is the croaking. If you don't like the sound of it, then it'll be a huge con. If you love it, it'll be good. And then next we're on to White's tree frogs. I love them. This one is Robert. And yeah. White's tree frogs are super cool. They get pretty big. One second. This thing just fell, so there we go. Problem solved. Yeah, White's tree frogs, they get pretty large. They're super nice. They're pretty cool at holding. They're super gorgeous. Yeah. So, sexing them is the same. He might pee, so I'm not gonna hold his weapon at you guys. And yeah, they get large enough to where you can feed them pinky mice, pretty often. Wouldn't say all the time or even close to that, just because they can get too much calcium, and it will happen quickly. I've had a few of them. One con is that they do not do well with smaller animals. 2017, I bought a baby crested gecko, roughly about that big. Did not see him, and I did have White's tree frogs, and I believe that is the culprit, was the White's tree frog. Don't have very much information. I didn't see anyone eat it, but a White's tree frog the size of Steve has the potential of eating a pinky mouse, so why wouldn't he eat a crested gecko the same size, you know? Yeah, they are pretty good at being handled. They're not gonna be as squirrely as the green tree frog was, Fred. Yeah, they'll just hang out all day. Not all day, eventually. They will jump. You can see that he's kind of changing his colors when they're sleeping, or like, yeah, when they're sleeping or soaking, pretty much. There'll be a nice purple, like a lavender, pretty much. Super nice. When they're awake and they're flamed up, they will be like blue-green, where the blue is more taking over the green, and it's really nice to see. Right now, his head is the only part of him that's purple. The colors are changing. And I will say that these guys and the red-legged walking frogs are roughly the same as far as on the list. The other ones people might not like because they do dig. So seeing them very often, if that's something that you want, you might not get it. Pretty much their temperatures the same as everything else. Uh, about the 90s, he was also sleeping right underneath the light. So the 90s, all the way down to the 60s. I'm gonna close this so that crickets don't keep getting out. But yeah, so at nighttime I don't have any ambient lights, nothing to keep them warmer. They just have they just go by the California weather. And right now, my room stays warmer, but back then when it didn't used to, it would drop down to like 30s to 40s. Everyone would be doing fine. It would take them longer to warm up in the daytime, but they still warmed up. Yeah, but I decided I do want them to have a better life, so I started keeping my room temperature higher. Um, and anyone who knows me personally knows I hate the heat, so anything for them. Uh, yeah, as you can see, he has not jumped yet, so that's good. He eats a lot. He'll eat like about like 10 crickets a week, so double what Fred would eat. And then Steve will probably eat about like 15. I might try and feed Steve a Pinky, see how that goes, a Pinky mouse. I do live, so I'm not gonna record it because I know YouTube has people. I don't know if YouTube has problems with it, but I know there's people who have problems with it, and I don't want to get any strikes. But yeah, again, super easy to sex, but don't know about their breeding because all I've ever gotten are males. Yep. So let's see. Pros. They live a pretty good long life. I think it's up to 10 to 15 years, somewhere around there. I want to say. They are gorgeous. Great colors all the time. Asleep or fired up. Doesn't matter. Pretty handleable, as you see. Again, wet your fingers or your hands before you do it. Then afterwards, sanitize them. That's the best way to go. Just, they're not toxic or anything, but they're frogs, so they have a bunch of stuff on their skin that's not really healthy for people. So yeah, just to be in your best favor, just wash your hands afterwards. They eat well. The temperature will not kill them. They do really well in here, right underneath the bowl. They're from Australia, so they're not from the desert like bearded dragons are, but they're from the foresty area. So humidity will have to be pretty high, and temperatures will have to be up there. Yeah. They don't bite, which is good. They're not like a dumpy frog. They're really similar, but not the same. Dumpy frogs are, for one, are a lot fatter, like just fat, and then they are prone to bite because they are more food responsive than these guys are. Just like green tree frogs, if you ever see me without one of these guys, chances are I'm getting one soon. They also croak, so that's a pro and a con. Theirs are a lot louder and a lot deeper. Now that whole time he hasn't peed and he's only jumped twice. So yeah, he's gonna jump again. He might pee this time. Cons? Croaking, really. And story, I used to have glowfish. Probably learned this from my first a week in the life of. I peed. A lot actually. And I used to have glowfish in this enclosure as well. This was way back in the day, and I didn't have a good filter. But so I would clean it out every week or so, do a water change, and during the week before I was doing the water change, my white tree frog decided I'm gonna poop in this water, and it killed everything in there. So yeah, they have very, very nasty poops. Keep that in mind. That's pretty much it about that. I bought mine for $10. So the same price as a green tree frog. So they're really readily available and super affordable. They can be housed together, as you see. I do have 2 males. They don't have problems with each other, and they sleep next to each other. That's pretty much just how frogs go, though. So, yeah. Next one is another frog, and then after this, we'll be bearded dragons. This one, I am going to use my water dish. Alright, so this one caused me a little bit of problems, which is understandable. And this, the reason why it's understandable is part of the cons. The African clawed frog. They are not handleable at all. The only reason why I ever handle him is for a water change or right now. Other than that, never. Sorry about that, guys. I ran out of storage, so I'm back. But yeah, they're not handleable. The reason why they're on this list is because they are super easy to maintain. If you want a pet that you can have about 20 of in a 10-gallon tank without problems, you don't have to do much with except for feed and water changes, this is the way to go. African clawed frogs, they stay small, except for the females will get larger. I think they breed very well. I've never bred them, but I've heard. They eat well. They don't eat bugs, so if that's your thing, there's pellets for frogs and tadpoles. So, yeah, they super calm, nice, don't jump, nothing. They do need some land though, so they're semi-aquatic, but they're mostly aquatic. They'll mostly spend their time inside of the water. They do breathe air, so keep that in mind. So yeah, and you'll find them for about like $5 at like PetSmart. So, and they're pretty much always there. If not, they're sold out, but they will be back soon. Just because people do like them. They do well with fish, and unfortunately, some people will use them as feeders. So, pros. They don't eat bugs, so if that's your thing, there you go. They are easy to maintain. Their water temperature room temperature pretty much. Yeah. Cons: can't hold them. Should never hold them. Don't hold them. Pretty much it, honestly. At least amount of cons. I don't know how long they live either, by the way. I would say like maybe like 5 years. So, yeah. Now it's time for bearded dragons. I'll try pouring him back. Be right back. So the last one, and one of the two on my top animals, or top exotic animals for beginners, would be bearded dragons. This right here is Deadpool, and he is awesome. So let's get right into it. They do like it a little bit warmer. Basking spots should be between 90 and 100 degrees. They do need a UVB, and UVA isn't like required. But if you want the best looking animal, UVA is the way to go. They need water, food. As babies, they will eat. They need 80% bugs, 20% veggies and fruit. As like in the middle, juvenile, they need 50-50. As adults, 80% veggies, 20% bugs. I don't know why. I just know that's how it is. And the more you feed them, the faster they grow. This guy eats roughly 20 small crickets a day. So yeah, there's that. He drinks a lot, and then because it's hot, you have to make sure that there's always water available for them. Enclosure, it's super debatable on what they need for their enclosure. My adults live in a 20-gallon. He lives in a 10-gallon. I'm not going to keep them together. Oh, she. I will never keep them together. Adults and babies should never mix. Adults and juveniles can mix. Even larger small ones, larger babies, if they're larger than him and he can fit in their mouth, they will eat him. So yeah, people will say they can't be on sand. Others will say it's fine. I'm on the spectrum that says it's fine as long as it's a healthy bearded dragon, and I wouldn't do it for babies. That's all I have to say. I keep my adults on sand. I keep him on a paper towel. Some people use tiles. Some people use paper towels their whole life, newspapers, or nothing at all. I'd rather have towels than nothing at all. So yeah. They need something to climb on. Little to no plants, artificial or real, because they do eat veggies, so they will eat the stuff. I did try Australian grass in my adults enclosure, but it didn't do well, so I moved it in here to see if it would do better. That's something that they can eat, because in the wild they're probably eating it, more likely. They need something sharp, or not sharp, but strong, like a branch in their enclosure to file the nails down, or you can clip them yourself. I have a brick that is underneath their basking spot, so they can bask on it. I have branches as well. I have hides. I have a lay box for my female, just because I do believe she is gravid. So I want her to have somewhere to lay her eggs at. Um, what else? They need a water dish, like I said. Yeah, food. You can feed them any variety of insects. Literally anything. Dubias are number one. Hornworms and crickets. Crickets are readily available anywhere you go, so that's what most people get, and they're cheap. They are a dime a dozen, so they're cheap. Um, Veggies, look it up on the internet. That's what I do. Collard greens are for sure, yes. There's even diets out there for them. Bearded dragon diets. I know Zumed carries it. And then, yeah. Calcium powder, always. Or any vitamins, any reptile vitamins, always a go. Um, hmm. Yeah. Some people will say that you need to keep them in 40-gallon tanks. Mine, my adults do very well on a 10-gallon or a 20-gallon. It's a 20-gallon long, so yeah. They don't get stressed out by each other. They breed a lot. So yeah. Pretty much all I have problems with is when I'm hand feeding. I'll be trying to feed Jack, my male, and then Lizzie will come up and snatch it from his mouth. And yeah, I've seen them bite each other's toes trying to get food. But that's about it, really. They don't bug each other too much. uh, so let's just jump into the pros and cons. Pros, you can find them everywhere. Um, you'll find them everywhere. There's a lot of different kinds. Um, what I do is I go to PetSmart, and they don't know what they're really selling. I bought this normal Italian leatherback for $30. It's $100+ lizard from where I've checked. Yeah, and look at these colors. He has great colors. So I'm happy I went there and had a little extra money and I could buy him. What else? Another pro is you can handle them all you want. Males are supposedly more handleable than females. Like females will be itching to get away and all that, but males will just chill. They eat like pigs. They eat very well. Pretty much, if you had a salad and you didn't want to finish it, you didn't have any dressing on it, you can just throw it into them and they'll eat it. But you do have to offer it up freshly and that's going to be hard since their temperature is so high. It will go mushy very soon. They're super hardy. It's pretty hard to kill a bearded dragon. Not saying I've tried to kill one, but there's a lot of people out there who don't really know what they're doing, but they're doing well. And I've heard rescue stories where someone saw a bearded dragon in their friend's window, in their friend's window, an adult and like a little critter keeper thing, and that's not saying how strong their fight to live is, or how strong their will to live is, then they and as babies they are super quick, but as they grow up they are super calm and mellow and they don't really do much. think that's it for the pros, but cons, there really isn't much. Or another pro is that you can find them dirt cheap. Really nice morphs and really nice colors. A super gorgeous dragon for like 25 bucks. But with that, you can find some pretty expensive bearded dragons, which I do hope to get some in the very near future. Yeah. Cons? If you're on any bearded dragon form and your bearded dragon is on sand, you will get a lot of hate. I will tell you that right now. I've gotten a lot of hate. And oh well, if it works for you, just because someone says it's not right doesn't mean it's not right. If your animal is healthy, happy, and fat, especially fat, because a fat dragon is a happy dragon. But yeah, as long as your dragon is healthy, who cares about the hate? Keep on doing it. Yeah, the cons. As babies, they're fast. They sometimes they will forget where the water is. So what I do is I will sit there and tap my fingers on their water and get them to get like a food response, and then they'll go up to their water, see it rippling, and try and bite it, and then they'll realize, hey, this is water, and then they'll start drinking it. There's a lot of fruit, especially fruit, that isn't good for them, but it'll be good for other animals, so you do want to make sure you check up on that. That's what Deadpool's telling you. You want to make sure to check up on it. Anytime I'm feeding them something that I haven't done before, I read up on it before I do anything. They poop a lot, especially as babies. They will poop a lot. A lot. That's roughly it for the cons, honestly. One con that kept me off of bearded dragons for a long time is how common they are. It's not a con, but it's something that kept me away from them. Just because everyone has a bearded dragon. So I was like, why do I want a bearded dragon? I want the most exotic animals. But then I got a bearded dragon and I just fell in love. And I've always had one ever since. So yeah. The longevity, however you want to say it, they will live up to 15 to 20 years, which is a long time for a lizard in captivity, especially for something that doesn't get huge. Deadpool sees a little cricket that's walking back and forth. It's too big for you. Another thing, as babies, you do have to be careful with their food. Because a larger cricket will be too big. Rule of thumb for all lizards and reptiles in general, if it's bigger than their head, it's too big for them to eat. Watch me pull this cricket out. Oh, never mind, I jumped. But yeah, a large cricket will be too big for Deadpool. But the adults will eat them, chomp them up, and eat them right away. Alright guys, I think that's it. This is going to be the last clip for a week in the life of. So hey everyone, thanks for watching. Keep calm and herp on. Always remember that if someone tells you you're not beautiful, always remember that you are. Just like someone once told Steve-O that he was ugly, he was slimy, he was disgusting. But now he's living his best life. So always remember, someone loves you and you will be out there living your best life.
What's up everyone? Nick with Nick's Reps back with another day in a week in the life of a reptile keeper / breeder. And I was gonna end it with yesterday's video, the little best or top 5 best reptiles for beginners, but I got some new plants, so I might as well
have you guys watch me plant them if you want. And I know this week's video is going to be super long and probably annoying for some of you. I doubt anyone's going to get to this point, so if you did, comment plants. Yeah, comment plants if you've gotten this far. So for the first one, it's this thing. It's a hanging plant, which if you've been here long enough, you know I've been wanting one. So, here we go. And shout out to my mom for giving me these plants. So apparently you only have to water this thing once a month, and you fill it up to where that line, the white area is, and then where it goes transparent, you don't have to fill it up past that. It looks fake, but it's real apparently. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it in this thing since it is already hanging. I don't have to do anything extra with it. So I am thinking just like this maybe.